Okay, folks, here we go.
Here we go. Let's have a good show.
1B, stand by.
Yeah.
Gas that.
Yeah,
Take it.
take it. Midfield. Just go
Take
right
it.
now.
Take
Go to
it.
camera 3.
Can
3.
you
Go to the gate. Perfect. Just like that.
I'll just go ahead.
Yeah. Graphics 2 is going to be up for the first. Okay.
Take it.
Go right now. Go to camera 3. Go. Yep. Can you go to the gate? Perfect. Just like that. No music.
I'm going to hand to Q. Sophie.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
On radio in the Canal Zone.
All right, guys, mic check.
Yep. Go ready.
Okay, Ricky. Mike.
Yep, I am ready.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Willie, mic check.
Yep, let's go.
1B, stand by.
10, 9, 8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
and we're live.
Okay, and go for it, guys.
Oh no, Willie, I don't hear you. Hi guys, hope I can hear you. Willie. I can't hear you guys. I can't hear you. Testing. I hope everybody can hear. I'm sorry about this, people. Again, everything seems to work right till the second we come on, and then everything goes to problemas. So just bear with us a little bit. Hope you guys can hear me. All right, well, here we go, man. We're going to try to do our best we can. Guys, thank you for joining us. Like always, every week we're here to bring you a podcast without so much trouble. Paul, the Balboa Yacht Club. Happy Hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. It's a weekly podcast that talks all about the Panama Canal, its history, which we do a couple shows a month on it, all about its towns, its traditions, and more important, its people, a.k.a. the Zonian community. Or as Shorty and Slim likes to say, the Mango Heads. So everybody, let's prepare our drinks and let's toast to the eighth wonder of the world. Salute, and to Willie coming back and joining us with some sound. Because we do have a great show for you guys tonight. We're very prepared for it. It's a show about the Atlantic side, Gatun. We'll start with that, and then we're going to talk about Portobello as well as Fort San Lorenzo. So it is a show that we're going to bring on a guest tonight, Mr. Vern, El Fulo de Colón, is what we call him. He does a very good job of informing us, teaching us about the Atlantic side, or the Gold Coast, like some people call it. So prepare yourselves for a good show. I'm hoping that Willie can jump on. I can start. Yeah, we can hear you now, but we can't see you. He's fixing something. Anyways, guys, so the show tonight, once we get through this and once we get through our announcements, we'll bring on Vern and get this documentary on tonight about the Atlantic side. So since I don't control the videos and that, we're going to just jump right into announcements. And as you know, we've been having the Panama Canal Museum is looking, guys, for yearbooks. Now, they have most of the Zonian yearbooks, but if you guys do, anybody out there has Zonian yearbooks from the 1916, 1917, I mean, these are old, or 1923, that's what they're looking for. So if you want to donate that, please do so to the Panama Canal Museum. Also, El Pacifico, I don't know which one that would be. I imagine that's Atlantic. No, that would be the Atlantic side, of course. El Pacifico, 1952, 1953. And Caribbean, 1919. So these are all schools that don't exist anymore. They're probably 80 feet underground in Gatun. Also, the Canal Zone documentary has been putting out a lot of information on, especially on Instagram, which is where I normally see them. He had a good post on the schools.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Well, no, you can, but hopefully they can as well.
Yeah, and he did a good job on the documenting the schools on the Atlantic side. Rainbow City High School. I don't know if you guys ever remember that, but I do. When I was in Corundu, our soccer team played against them. But other than that, yeah, there was kind of a quiet high school that I really didn't know much of. But before, guys, it became Rainbow City. It was called Silver City, because it housed most of the canal workers during that time. So that's on the Canal Zone documentary on Instagram. Don't forget about the reunion. Like always, we like to inform you about our two big reunions. The one coming up in the summer, the week after 4th of July. Don't forget to sign up. I think our due date is in May, so get your room, get your tickets, get your airline fare, everything you need, and come join us at the Panama Canal Society reunion in Orlando.
Yes,
Next week
great
or
time
the
is going to
week
be had by
after.
all.
Yeah, next week or the week after, Willie is trying to get some of the Canal Society people on board to give you guys all the latest and all the new stuff coming up.
Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully, if you guys are listening, if somebody from there wants to join us and talk about what they have coming up with the society, they've got it all of it planned out now, and of course they're it's on the website, of course, pancanalsociety.org. Also, I know that they're looking for more people for the golf tournament. So if you're a golfer and you're in the Florida area, or if you're a golfer and not in the Florida area, I mean, they'll have clubs available, for those that don't have your own clubs or don't want to travel with them. But it's a fun tournament. It's a good time, that tournament on Thursday. So make sure that you check it out. First and foremost, though, make sure that you sign up for the society, become a member. It's $60 a year, so it's a really good bargain. And as Ricky always reminds us, at the reunion, if you're there for the full stay, the discounts that you're going to get will more than cover what it costs you for an annual membership. So it's really a no-brainer, guys, to do that. So
Sign up, yeah. If you're going to the reunion, I mean, even if you're not going, but if you're going, definitely sign up so you can get that discount.
By the way, did you do a toast? It's
yeah, we did a toast. We'll do a toast now that Willie's back with us. Sorry, you guys, for a strange beginning, but when we can't hear each other, that's difficult.
Not sure what happened. I didn't change any settings just now. It just
I know,
bizarre.
man, I hate that. We're sitting here chit-chatting for an hour before the show. Everything's normal. We're checking everything. Then the show comes on, and we can't hear you.
Yep.
Well, we do have a lot of stuff, guys. The Causeway. You know how they used to go to the Causeway and they had carne en palitos and they had all that stuff? Well, you can't do that anymore. Completely restricted. No more street vending at the Causeway. But you know what? Nowadays, the Causeway's got such great restaurants out there. And it makes more sense to go out there for the restaurants.
Sure.
Yeah. They've got one barbecue place out there, Fogon something, and I've been to it. It's really, 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 really good. Recommend it. And they also have a ceviche place out there that's really good.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, there's a lot of good cuisine. Panama, as we've talked a lot recently, is becoming a very cuisine-centric country. That's the canal now is one of many attractions to Panama, and food is becoming one of those because there's a big
it's a
contingent
food
of people that like to
destination
travel.
now.
Yes, that do exactly travel for food, and they like to go.
Yeah,
to
people
places
go there for the food. Which is
so-
really good. I mean, that came out of nowhere, All of a sudden, one or two women, when we talked about it, a couple of restaurants won awards, and next, boom.
Yeah, next thing you know, everybody's doing it. You're absolutely right.
And it's been that Cologne side dishes that are really popular.
Yeah, they've made a big resurgence. Cologne has always had that what do you call it, redheaded stepchild kind of thing. It's kind of like the Atlantic side, in the Canal Zone. It's always, they struggled in sports and everything else. So
no, they didn't. You're so mean always, man. They were good. Cristobal and me always seem like
but there's probably more Atlantic siders on tonight, so we can.
Yeah. I don't know why Willie likes to diss on you guys.
It's a rivalry, man. You gotta listen.
But it's true. It's
we're
true, though.
about the zone, and that
right.
was
Like I grew up in Balboa, and whenever we played Diablo or Los Rios, and our summer sports, it was like a regular game. But when we played the Atlantic side, that was like the
got
big
up
game.
for it, man.
Yeah, you got up for that. You knew they were coming in.
And it's nothing personal. It's all honestly, it always is in good fun. It really is. We're all part of a great community, but you guys are just a little bit below. That's all.
No, they did good. They can't. I can't say that, especially for Little League football. They beat us. All right, what's going on? What else is going on? Sports.
We ate two of the restaurants out of the Causeway. It is absolutely. It's excellent food, man. I mean, it really is. The cuisine in Panama now is getting its own recognition. It's. You've gotten that fusion like you do in Panama itself. The culture of Panama has always been, being that it's a crossroads, you've always had a fusion of different cultures anyway, and it makes sense that when a culture establishes itself, one of the things that a culture brings with it is its food, right? And that's one of the things you kind of hang on to as a community. And so, in the States and in many places, you always had, Little China, Little Italy, all these different areas that one of the things that really links them together is the food as a cuisine. In fact, I was looking up the other day, locations in Toronto for the World Cup, and looking on the big map there on Airbnb, and they have it broken up. Here's Little China over here, and you saw, hey, that would be cool to get some of that food here and some of that food there. So it is a big deal for countries to have that, and Panama has the good fortune because it's always been a crossroads, that it really has a lot of different dynamic type of cuisine and a lot of different fusions and unique recipes, man. It's growing, man, and we're gonna try something else now with our friend Jason Curtides down in Panama. Hopefully, we can get some more cuisine stuff going.
We just got to get down there, and then we can go to his house and do our show from his house while he cooks. He really wants to do that. Yeah, well, they had the big food festival. I think it was last week or the weekend before. 120,000 people showed up.
Correct.
200 chefs. It was every hotel room was sold out. And then they inaugurated the stadium right afterwards. So Cologne has been happening. Now,
yes,
here's another social news coming out of Panama. We always love the work that the U.S. ambassador's doing down there. Because he's everywhere and he's really promoting the friendship and the unity of the two countries. Well, he's getting married to a Panamanian girl from a very prominent political family.
Yeah, there you go.
Andrea Altamirante Duque. Her father used to be a vice president of Panama. Yes, so our ambassador, Marino Cabrera Marino, is marrying a Panamanian. So that's
solidifying that relationship.
News.
And it's funny because that's back in the day. That was the way even diplomatic relationships took place.
Like
right?
kings,
especially
right?
back
They
in
would
the
marry their daughters,
Heck
So
yeah, you absolutely did marry into that country. Next thing there was a friendship there.
Well, no, listen, both of those people, we wish them very happy marriage. Good job, guys. Good job on that. Yeah, what else? Oh, sports. We always promote the Autodromo, and that's that new track that's out there past Campana.
Correct.
Well, Willie, now that track this year got #1 track in Central America. Number one for the new circuit. And tomorrow the season starts, and it's starting in Panama.
Okay.
So, with all the complaints on F1, I don't know if you've been hearing it, or if you guys out there have been hearing
horrible.
It's horrible.
Garbage,
people don't even watching F1
They're
anymore.
Ruining it, man.
So these are the series that people are going to be watching now. The GT Challenge, the Porsches and the Lamborghinis and those Porsche. Is it Porsche or Porsche?
Porsche. Well, Porsche.
Yeah. So Panama, the GT Challenge tomorrow, season opener.
Nice.
Winnie, on Wednesday, something like 10 or 15 other cars went down in Cinta Costera. It was really cool. And
there's a lot of the Panama TV networks and stuff broadcast and they stream live on YouTube. It's it's not uncommon. So every so often when some of these things come on, go on YouTube and you'll find a lot of stuff.
Oh, especially sports.
Yeah, exactly.
You can find them all on YouTube, man. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
And then what else is going on? Panama's GDP came in 4.4% up. I mean, they're normally they got much higher numbers, but still, it's unemployment's still killing them. But 4.4s, they're growing. Ports, we love to keep you updated on the ports. Let me tell you, the Chinese are escalating, and our president first had to take on Trump, right? We're taking over the Canal, and he did a great job of managing that.
Yep.
Then now he's taking over the other Chinese, so he's got to take on the Chinese as well. And believe me, he recognized that he's not up against some chump country. He recognizes that China is very powerful,
right?
But the Chinese have escalated, right? So two things have happened in the last week from when we reported last week. First thing is there was a due date coming up for the appeals, but like in any other lawsuit. Not that I'm an expert on this, but I kind of am, unfortunately.
But he stayed at Holiday Express one time.
Yeah, exactly. You always get extensions, especially the first submittal. You get an extension because you probably haven't gotten your lawyer on board or you haven't gotten, something. So getting an extension is totally normal. So what the Chinese did was on the day that it was due, and Panama obviously asked for an extension, they came out and announced that Panama was unprepared. They're a third world country. They don't even know. They don't even take this seriously. That Panama's not a good place to invest right now. That is at its lowest, credit rating.
Right.
And so that's what the Chinese came out and said this week. On top of that, Willie, they started inspecting 75% of the ships that China inspected, in their Chinese ports were of Panamanian flag. So this is their retaliation, right? So
they're angry,
right? So they're just making the shipping
making
companies
everybody miserable.
Correct. And so, Panama's been quiet. So now Panama has responded. Molino has responded. First thing he said that's Thursday morning, because this stuff all came out Wednesday.
Yeah.
He called the Chinese fake news. He goes, those guys are nothing but fake news. He goes, second, I'm going to release the files. Speaking of files, I'm going to release the PPC files so the country can see all the stuff these guys have been doing. And,
in all fairness, Panama's had a black eye with the whole Panama Papers for years, so they're more than happy to show people that they're not the only one that was playing these games.
Well, and so it's so I mean, I don't know what to say, man. It's just that Molino's doing a good job taking on the two most powerful nations in the world, and he's doing a good job of keeping it all,
he's
under
representing
wraps.
his country well.
They hired they got a new lawyer on board, not from Panama, international lawyers. So that's all good. So we'll keep reporting on that the more news comes out, which is actually weekly. And then Molino is not only taking on the Americans, the Chinese, but he's taking on everybody. He's letting the Europeans know, either you take us off these stupid lists, or you're missing out on all these projects we're doing in Panama. Some of those projects are like ports, airports, railroads, subways, dams, you name it. There's a whole bunch of projects that are coming up that Europe would love to participate. But Molino's telling them now, listen, you take us off or you're not participating. So the Europeans responded by saying that we should have a relationship aside from the list.
Right.
So now we're going to wait and see how Molino responds to that. Like, we're going to keep you on the list, but we still want to do all your projects. I don't think so. Well,
yeah, right.
That's what's going on in a world of political power fights in Panama. Something else that I want to bring up that's been on the news, we've had this jungle training school, forever in the Canal Zone. And then now it continues till today. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because it's been on the news, and something that caught my attention was it's always been the most elite training school in the world till today.
Right.
All right, till today. And some of the things that this school has done is it trained the first astronauts. Buzz Aldrin was trained at this school. Of course, all the elite military units are trained there.
Yeah, my dad went and filmed some of that when he was in the Air Force. Some of that stuff.
Yes, as well as military pilots from all branches. Go to that school. Now, Willie, the guy that teaches this, right? This indigenous knowledge, jungle indigenous knowledge.
Right.
He was from the Embera tribe.
Okay.
And I hope I'm saying that right, because I think it might have like a tilde somewhere around there. And his name was Manuel Antonio Sarco. Very famous guy, because he's the one that trained all these people in navigation, edible plants, and survival techniques.
Okay.
So people always ask, now what does the moon have to do with jungle training?
Right.
So of course I looked into it, because I was also asking the same question. Like, what what jungle techniques can you use to survive in the moon, right? Well, it was for in case the capsule landed in the jungle and how to survive until they were found. And that's the reason why they did that, because it was
all contingencies.
Yes. So it had nothing to do with actual survival in the moon. It was just for that.
Yeah. No,
so that was some good. Yeah. So one of the most unique schools in the world. It combines military science with indigenous knowledge of the jungle, and it's till today one of the most elite military training schools in the world. And right now they're still training people there. I think that now it's called Fuerte San Christopher Columbus. No. Yeah, Christopher Columbus is what the fort's now called.
And I imagine, down the road, as we see what's going on with Balboa, where that's going to become a special forces town, in essence, that I imagine a lot of that will be moved there so they can keep it all in one location, more centralized, probably better organized and whatnot. So that's interesting how that's evolving. But, Panama has played that role for a long time, right? It's been vital
right now.
And I think they probably ramped that stuff up even more so after Vietnam when they found themselves, you know, in
Well, I
a
think
war
that's
there
what
for a
they
long
used
time.
it the most was to train those guys for that.
It
And
made
then now
sense
with
because
all that stuff,
it matches the environment.
correct. And now with
You
all
know?
the stuff going on with the cartels, you know, so they're training even
Yeah.
more right now.
Right.
So
yeah.
right on, Panama. Thank
Yeah,
you
that's
for the
interesting.
cooperation.
That's interesting.
You know, keeping some
No,
world
you know, a
peace.
couple people started commenting on the food in Panama because that always is one that people love to chat.
Yeah, let's
about.
talk
And-
about that, Willie.
And I mean, Dodd and Tierney, remember they were in Panama last week. They were over at Frank's place in Toboga for a bit there.
Oh, sorry,
And-
Willie. Ranchito, the way better than our opinion. Yeah, Ranchito.
Yeah.
Oh, out there in the Causeway.
Yeah,
Cause I've been to that one. That one's been there the longest.
By the way, guys, I learned something new the other day. Speaking of those words there, right? Last week we ate at Mi Ranchito, and the other one I'm assuming is Leños y Carbón, right? Because Leños is is wood.
that's the one in Causeway. Leños
Right?
y Carbones, right?
So on Windows, I don't know how you do it on a Mac because I'm not an Apple product person, but on Windows, if you hold the Alt key down and you use the number keys on the right, Alt 164 will give you that ñ. So when you type that in, so it doesn't say Leños, so it will say Leños y Carbón. So you type in LE and then hold Alt 164, and it'll put the N with a little tilde on it, and then you keep typing the rest of your letters. So
Yep.
yes, and now you know.
Pickleball. Yes, pickleball's taking off in Panama. Big, huge thing. You know,
That's taking off everywhere, man.
yeah, it's huge. Here they're trying to. The Europeans do one thing called paddleball. Like it's called padel, I guess.
Very
Or
similar.
paddle. Very similar, but it's more like racquetball because they have the four walls around you. They got the walls around you.
Oh, okay.
And you can play off the walls. That's
Yeah,
the
pickleball is
difference.
more like tennis.
Yeah,
but
or ping pong. Or something
even like on the cruise ships now, they're getting rid of the basketball courts and replacing them with pickleball courts.
Yeah,
because that's what
yep.
people
There's,
like to play.
There's a lot of I know this is not Canal's one there, but there's a lot of in California now, there people are fighting for. They don't want those pickleball courts anymore because you know all the.
They blew up.
I think there's a
were
lot
everywhere.
of fighting going on. That's what it is. Everybody's fighting and arguing, and it's just no longer that sweet sport that it was meant to be.
It blew up, man. It blew up. But
Yeah, I know Panama. That's big in Panama. I've seen all the courts with lights, Willie, and everything. People are investing in that.
listen, because it's something that people, a lot of people won't play tennis because you have to be in shape to play tennis. It's you got to do a lot of running to do tennis.
Well, you need technique too. Yeah.
Well, and certainly that helps too, But pickleball is that version of it.
Anybody
it's
can play
slower.
pickleball.
It is. It's very easy to, you're not hitting the ball at 100,000 miles an hour, and it's
Right.
not a long
It's just
court,
like-
so. Yeah, right. And so it's a lot more people are getting involved in it, and it's an easy gig, but it really has blown up. It's everywhere. Like
It's
I said.
social, right? It's very social.
it doesn't go
thanks
away.
about that. Any other info on Panama? We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and
new stuff.
we definitely, like I said, we definitely want to do something with food, and Jason does. I mean, we tried one go at it, but that's a little bit difficult. There is a technique to walking around in a food joint, filming and talking and and all that stuff. But if you're friends with Jason Cratides on social media, the guy is an amazing cook. And he loves to showcase his cooking. He takes pictures and he posts them all the time of all these great meals he likes to do. So
He fuses his Greek with his Panamanian with his that. He's always fusing
but he's serious
things
about it. I
together.
mean, the guy really puts technique into it and stuff. He likes his food. I mean, even the way he describes it a lot of times, you can tell that it's not just, let me just throw something in there. Oh, this is pretty good. Try this out. He wants to make a dish that's got, it's legit, man. But anyhow, so we're gonna come up with something because we all want
to get into this.
Even back in the Zonian days, the cuisine in Panama was recognized. There's certain things that were, we talked a little bit about it once recently on the show here. Bollos and tamales and carimañolas and
I was all hungry.
all that stuff. Right? So, but now, I mean, the food scene's exploding, man, and so
We're still in an announcement. The reunion always has at all the parties has Panamanian food there. Hey, what's up, Chris? I had dinner last night with Mr. Chris. Good to see you last night, Chris.
Yeah, Chris
I know
is on the West Coast last night.
he should be on the air. I thought he was. He probably traveled earlier, but yeah,
He's
he
on
probably just
autopilot.
landed. He was in San Francisco last night.
Oh,
Had
he's
dinner
the
with
captain.
me
He's
and-
like, hey, take over, man. I got to chime in on the show.
Yeah. Well, he actually does. I told him how he sometimes he's just waiting for his next flight, and he's just on the cockpit watching us on the show. and saying hello to the folks.
That's
So
awesome.
right on, Chris, man. Cheers to you, my friend. Thanks for stopping by San
Salute,
Francisco.
brother. Absolutely. Well, anyway, let's move right
I've had
along
two
here. We are on
captains.
schedule. We just kind of winged it.
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
but-
I know we had that rough start, and we're normally really organized in our first two segments, but hey, it is what it is. Everybody, thank you for the mulligans. We appreciate it, man. We really do appreciate
I don't know what happened there, man. It was
that. We seem to get a lot of breaks on our technical problems,
and it was strange because we launched, and I mean, right prior to launch, when I just hit launch,
I
everything
know,
was
we're not,
fine.
and we're not even dissing on China, thinking that they would,
yeah, we've kind of backed off on him, so they stopped. The hackers left us alone, right? We abided by the agreement.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's get going because we got a good show, guys. The forts were incredible. I know we knew, like me, I always knew they were there, but I didn't know any history of them. Well, tonight we're going to learn a lot of great history. You can tell you though, these forts were like today. Panama was the hub of all the activity going on in the New World for the Spaniards. So we're going to be going back to like the 1600 guys, and we're going to be talking about some cool stuff back then. That was going on.
And whatnot.
And it relates till today, too, which is amazing how Panama works.
But before that, we're going to talk about Gatun, because Gatun is one of those
Yes.
places that, poor Gatun, man. Gatun just never, ever really got a chance to settle in. As soon as it started to grow roots, man, they would cut it, man. And it never stopped, right? The first Gatun was right where the Gatun Dam is. And so they literally said, got to move this whole town and move it somewhere else and move it somewhere else. And then all of a sudden now you fast forward to 2010, 2011, and they start digging this new canal, this new locks, these expanded locks. And where do they cut? Right through part of Gatun.
Right through Gatun.
So, but in prepping for that, I did notice, which was interesting, not having that familiarity with the Atlantic side, because very, very few times I visited there, and I certainly don't recall ever visiting any of the town sites. But when I think of Gatun, just in my mind subconsciously, I assume a big town, like a
Balboa
and everything. But Gatun wasn't that big as far as the housing, town site that was there, when we were around in those, 60s, 70s, 80s and whatnot. But it is interesting to see how it was really impacted directly by that canal, right? Which is kind of ironic that happened, and prior to that, when we built the original canal, many towns were displaced and moved.
80 feet underwater.
Yeah, right. And so it happened again here, right? And also
that's amazing that there's not like a scuba club out there. Or maybe there is that we don't know about, but you don't hear about many scuba clubs going out there.
We were going to talk about that last week.
With Lance.
With Lance, because that's one of the things that he mentioned when we were doing show prep.
And he did a lot of, he dove those
He dove
towns.
the houses in the lake.
There's houses down there, guy. Well, I don't know how long they lasted, but there's actually houses.
And by the way, guys, we got that whole technical issue fixed, and so we were gonna just bring him back in April. But you know what? We decided we're gonna do. The month of May is gonna be Panama Canal month for us. So the entire month we're gonna do nothing but Panama Canal shows,
like history.
So we're going to have Lance Wiskowski join us from the dredging division and do that one the proper way, because we were winging it, right? We were getting our AI
we needed
information.
Lance was the man.
Right, we need the expert, right? We're going to have Jim Duffus is going to join us and talk about the Gatun locks, right? All the workings of that facility. We're going to have Andrew Eftimitis join us and give us a Panama Canal pilot report. And fingers crossed, I'm going to try and get a hold of David Cohen, or if not, somebody else that can join us from
like
the
tugboat captain,
division to talk about that. So every one of the episodes will be all about the actual Panama Canal itself. So May's going to be a really, really cool, just pure Panama Canal month. I'm looking forward to that.
But are we going to do at least one dictionary segment? Because we are,
I think we could do one probably every one of those. We could put those in, because there is
dictionary in there. Cool.
Yeah, sure. Because in fact, there's a new trivia machine that's available now for the platform.
Made it a lot easier. They must have read our
we don't have
mind.
to use an app and all that shit. There's no lag and all that. It really it goes as you see it. So
scan the code and all that BS.
None of that garbage. So that should be fun. But yeah, Kieran, my house in Gatun is long. Well, we're going to pull up some maps. We're going to look at Gatun, the layout, what it looked like back then, what it looks like now, and see where those houses were, because a lot of that, my guess is as good as yours. And again, because Gatun and the Atlantic side didn't have the same prominence that Balboa, being the hub of the canal, was. No, all seriousness. There's a lot less pictures of neighborhoods in the Atlantic side than there is.
I'm gonna touch on that's cool, Willie.
Let me tell you what. If you go online,
Cristobal High School used to be a submarine base.
Yeah, I understand all that. What I'm getting at, though, is because I spent all week looking stuff up of Gatun. And when you try and get pictures of Gatun, the neighborhood, there's very few pictures out there. You really, you have to know people in the Atlantic side that took pictures of their neighborhoods.
I get you.
But, even CZ Images, which is, the repository of all things Canal Zone as far as images go, they're few and far between, especially the neighborhood. The Gatun area, Mount Hope, the cold storage, all that, tons of it, right? But the actual neighborhoods of Gatun of
like the La Boca roads, the Balboa roads.
But if you do the same thing and you look up, if you type in Balboa Canal Zone in Google Images, my God, there's 1,000 images, right? And
all
so
right,
that's all.
Here's a trivia. Anybody know what the Breakers Club is?
The Breakers Club.
The Breakers Club. Let's see if any of you Atlantic siders know anything about the
I would
Breakers
assume they would
Club.
know. They better know.
They better know. See,
like those are the people
it's in our dictionary
they were
library.
breakdancing. They wore the Adidas sneakers with the wide laces in the 80s. That was
the Atlantic side guys?
That was the Breakers Club.
Oh, really? No, the Breakers Club is a social.
Over his head. You see that guy's that thing? You couldn't even. It went so.
Oh, really?
I
mean, I'm like that. Sorry, man. Sorry. All right, you guys ready? Anybody out there want to know what it is?
Dime.
Okay, it's a social club in Coco Solo, facing Manzanillo Bay waterfront between the elementary school and the lagoon swimming beach. I mean, that sounds cool. Originally a U.S. Navy officers club with a bowling alley downstairs, a bar, and a restaurant upstairs. Sounds pretty cool. Its popularity declined after the Coco Solo Naval Station reverted to the Panama Canal Company. What? I thought the Zonians would make it even a lot
that's
better.
One of the things that the Atlantic side did have was it seemed to change a lot, right? As far as what was American, what was Panamanian, what was military, civilian, etc. It seems like the Atlantic side did more changing than the Pacific side did, for whatever.
Yeah, so it was like the American Legion. Where they had the bars, the restaurant, everything. Yeah. But they knocked it down in '78, so it was pretty popular in the late '50s.
There's your Atlantic side trivia, guys. So
There's
if you
your
got
trivia,
it,
man.
fantastic. If not,
The Breakers Club.
You know now. But let's get some real Atlantic side coverage going here. Well, of course, we're going to pay our bills and talk to some howler monkeys here, and then we're going to get our friend Vern Couturier on that's going to talk about Gatun. Gatun, I wouldn't say then and now, because the then was not way back when. We're going to touch a little bit about that history, but really was that time when these guys grew up and it was their stomping grounds, and then moving forward to this new canal, the expansion came in and a lot of that disappeared as Tiernan just chimed in and said her house is no longer there. So, but then we're going to go some places that Vern, went to visit and explore, which were the two forts, Fort San Lorenzo and Portobello. There's some great history from both of those, and so that should be a lot of fun. But let's get some howler monkeys on here and then get Vern on here. He's waiting diligently.
We're still looking for our Howler Monkey Hot Sauce spokesperson. Just got an email from Panama.
You've got mail.
Hey, I'm Mac, and I grew up behind Howard Air Force Base in Panama. I can talk about hot sauce. On pizza, uy, que rico. So I just miro la camera and say, I'm Mac. I grew up in these trees next to Howard Air Force Base. Hey, are we really going to Napoli?
Whoa.
Oh, no, Willie. I was touching too many buttons, man.
Oh, there you go, trying to hit buttons. So anyhow, let's do that again, because this is definitely
oh my God. Sorry, everybody.
We're still looking for our Howler Monkey Hot Sauce spokesperson. Just got an email from Panama.
You've got mail.
Hey, I'm Mac, and I grew up behind Howard Air Force Base in Panama. I can talk about hot sauce. On pizza, uy, que rico. So I just miro la camera and say, I'm Mac. I grew up in these trees next to Howard Air Force Base. Hey, are we really going to Napoli?
And let me tell you, the flavors of ají chombo, garlic, and onions, they each hit you one at a time, and it's so delicious.
Howler Monkey Original brings the true taste ají chombo of Panama to your pizza game.
Do you know a howler monkey who can describe the sweet heat of our original with authentic ají chombo peppers, or the fresh punch of verde where habanero warmth meets crisp bell pepper? How about the bold tang of Amarillo, yellow Scotch bonnets blended with mustard seeds? And of course, our hot, the same great flavor as original, fired up with red habaneros for that fire. Our sauces are all natural, no preservatives, gluten-free, pure flavor and pure fire. Are you the next Howler Monkey spokesperson?
All right, there we go. So now we are back with no more button pushing here. But hey, you know what? It's part of the train wreck Friday that we've got going on here. But now things are going to go in a much better direction. Vern Couturier, our Atlantic side expert, is on here with us. So things are going to go nice and smooth.
Yeah, I'm putting my hands in my pocket, man. I am not touching any more anything.
Hey guys, just got a little more airtime. Vern, how's it going, man? Happy Friday to you.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, happy to have you back. You know, we do a lot of ribbing on the Atlantic side, and that's just like I was telling Ricky earlier. That's part of the tradition. We grew up, you know, ragging on each other, and that's part of the zoning experience. But truth be told, we didn't live over there, so we don't know a lot of it. You know, even from just visiting, it's hard to, you know, you never get the full picture of something until you actually, you know, we're stomping your grounds there. So
right. Well, I didn't live in Gatun. I lived in Margarita the whole time. But I spent a lot of time over in Gatun. Had my first job in Gatun also.
Okay.
But so I see that Tiernan is on here. It looks like. It looks like maybe she lived there.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm hoping she might chime in on some stuff here, because I mean my knowledge of Gatun is kind of what I read this last week to a certain extent.
Right.
So I'm hoping that she can help us out a little bit.
Now let me ask you, because you also spent time on the Pacific side. So in relation to, for example, Los Rios or La Boca, in size, was Gatun bigger, smaller, about that same size?
Oh, I would say Gatun was smaller.
Okay. It seems like it was pretty small.
Yeah. You know, you kind of prefaced this earlier about the fact that Gatun has went through so many changes.
Right.
Movement. I mean, just like you said, it seemed like as soon as you got settled, they told you, well, you got to move over here now because we're going to use this. You know, I mean, and so, I mean, there was a time, you know, obviously during the construction especially, but even going back to when the gold rush and so forth, that Gatun had a much higher population in it than was during the time that I lived in that area.
Yeah, I actually pulled some stats on that. Was interesting. It really, even in the they mentioned it several times that there was a purposeful depopulating of the Atlantic side, right? And part of that, you know, and Gatun was one that I mean, it dropped by almost 60-70% the population at one point.
Right.
You know,
and that area, I want to be careful here that I don't make it sound like I know something that I obviously don't. But
that's all right. We do that all the time here, man. It's no big deal.
But I'm going to make an assumption that that area where they dug for the back in 1939 and 40, when
third locks,
trying to dig for the third locks, that there was housing in that area that they got rid of.
Oh, so they got displaced even back then.
Little pictures. I think that's where a lot of the population was of Gatun. Wow. And then you got Fort Davis directly behind there also.
Sure.
And some of those pictures that I shared with you, I don't know if you're going to use any of those, but
Yeah, we've got them at the end. We'll pull those up to give some
yeah,
context what you have
Fort
here.
Davis in the background in a couple of those, and it was it. And so I think that again. And then I shared a picture with you that was from 1928, I believe.
Right.
That they still had the original housing for when Gatun was first after the locks were built and so forth. And they tore all those down and put in new housing.
Very similar to what they did in Balboa, where in Balboa, you look at prior to 1930, the whole area that was referred to as the Balboa Flats, I guess it would be technically east of El Prado and the admin building, all that, all those houses there, even the layout of the roads was totally different, and they had the taller wooden structures, the multifamily, and they all that got torn down and completely redone. So that's something that, the Canal Zone several times has gone through these changes where they've, and Ricky, this is kind of right up your alley there, the whole city planning and architecture and everything, and saying, hey, we're going to do this now. And I mean, they really just gut the whole place out and start over. They certainly don't half-ass it. That's for sure, man. When they make a change, they do, man. They don't.
Yeah,
play.
La Boca's a good example of that. Went from a silver town to I guess the elite, because all the people with the top jobs lived there.
Right.
Yeah, La Boca was kind of the place everybody wanted to hang out. It was close to the water. It was a little more quiet. Speaking of quiet, Vern, and we'll talk about obviously a lot of things here, and actually Tiernan probably can help attest to this more so. But one of the things I read was that living in Gatun especially was very noisy because of the proximity to the locks. They literally are stones throw away.
That makes sense.
You think about, perhaps similar to Pedro Miguel and parts of Paraíso, where you have them near the locks as well. But in Balboa, in all those areas, Diablo was on the water, but the Miraflores locks are still a ways away, and Los Rios was off the water. So we never had those issues. On occasion, you'd hear a boat horn or something. But
yeah, a foghorn. That's what I was going to say. Every once in a while, you would hear a foghorn.
Yeah, that was about it, though. But
yeah, I remember in my experiences of being on the water in our family boat and so forth, and the tugboats and the ships were communicating with each other using the horns all the time.
Sure.
So I can imagine that. Gatun probably was quite busy all the time. Quite noisy all the time.
Yeah, because it's literally right up against the water. These maps don't do it justice, but right on the left edge of both of those maps, obviously they're the same view. Is the Gatun locks? Literally right there. You could hit a golf ball and you'd probably hit it over the locks if you got a good
throw
shot.
Throw a football over there. And look at the houses on the bottom right. Imagine those views. The ones right on the canal. Wow, those are some.
Actually, I was hoping to mention that if you would, I don't know if you can go back to that first map you had up.
Yeah, absolutely.
The AI generated one you had up there. Yeah, you see where it says causeway, and then right to the left of it says emergency dam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right above the D there, you see those three houses right there? Again, Tiernan might be able to help better with this than me, but my understanding is that those three houses there were highly coveted houses.
Yes.
The pilots got those.
They did. I've read about that as well. Yes. That there was some areas there. I don't know which ones they were, but it would make sense to be that one that, you had the view, you could.
Great view of you saw everything coming and going out of the canal.
God, imagine lunches and dinners there and drinks and happy hour. Oh my God.
Saturday morning, get up early and cup of coffee and sit out there and watch some boats going through. That would be a great view. That's pretty amazing. But yeah, that's something, like I said, that we that I did read about was the noise there and stuff. We heard the ship and tugboat horns a lot. I would imagine so.
Yeah, but you get used to that. Like if you live in the big city, I hear ambulances, fire trucks going all. I sleep like a baby. When I go up to the mountain cabin and it's as quiet as you can, I can't sleep. It's too quiet. So I guess people get used to this background noise, and it's actually beautiful. Some people can only sleep with it.
Right.
So I wonder if that's probably what happened to the Gatun folks. They just got used to that.
I would imagine so, and again, like Vern said, in those homes there with that fantastic view,
right?
You learn to live with that, man. Because what does that tell you? That you got a front row seat to daily operations of the Panama Canal, man.
No, wait. Was the locks 24/7? Yeah. It was,
Yeah.
right? Operations were
At the
24/7.
point when we
right?
were there, they were. Remember, that was part of the widening of it, and they added the lights, which allowed you to have 24/7 even in the Culebra Cut there. So
Yeah, I think that was in the 1950s when they did that.
correct. And Pat's bringing up a good point here, yes, about the Smith family. If that is in fact, related to them, they really do go way back. Ricky,
They
did
built
you
the
say-
railroad. They came here to build
Correct,
the railroad.
prior to the canal, even, right? I mean, that's as Zonian as you can get. So what was home leave for the Smiths? To go to Cologne?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Their home was Panama for many, many generations.
Yeah, I think they're the longest tenure Zonian family. I think the Coffees too were also a part of the railroad.
Yes, I've heard that as well. So anyhow, interesting then. What happened with Gatun, and here again, Tiernan, and if you can chime in, and anybody else that's familiar with it, but here's two side-by-side views of Gatun. One of them zoomed in a little bit more than the other, but it still gives you a good idea of what happened to a lot of those homes in that area there. So I'm going to assume, based on what Tiernan said, that her house was gone, that the area on the right side of the map, there's a bunch of houses right below those woods, and the way the woods are laid out there may be right or wrong. I don't know. That's kind of just AI was kind of surmising whether those woods or fields there. But you look on the right side of the left-hand map, all those homes are then, of course, were removed or kind of run over, because the map on the right side, you see that's where those are the replenishing tanks, where they recycle the water that goes in and out of those tanks, right? Those aren't actual locks. The locks are further off the screen there. But, yeah, that's what you were going to bring up here, Vern. What is your observation? Because, again, you are somewhat familiar with Gatun.
In what way? I'm sorry.
As far as, getting rid of those homes, and in fact, is that area accessible anymore?
Well, oh God, what's his name? I can't think of it. Garcia, right?
Nodier, yeah.
Nodier, yeah. I've been in a little bit of conversation with him, and I asked him if he had any pictures of between the new locks and the old locks, and he told me I should contact Alex Reyes, and because he said apparently he has or is able to get in there, and so I did contact Alex, but he never got back to me. But
okay,
I was hoping that yes, because like you said, I mean, you can't find any pictures of inside there.
Right.
It's like it's like a top secret.
Yeah. It's like one of those nuclear test sites back in the day.
Yeah, no. Alex did say he went in there and he said that the homes, it was kind of eerie because there's no one living there, but everything's been restored, ready to be moved in.
Very interesting.
And I had heard that also. I don't remember where, but I had heard that also. That but yeah. So I don't know. Do they have workers living in them? Maybe.
Maybe like a museum, an architectural museum for the future or something like that.
The area is taken care of, but the houses are uninhabited.
Yeah, and it's pristine, conditions, move-in ready.
That's interesting. That's very.
You gotta have palanca to get in. Here,
yeah,
sorry.
So yeah. Paul's asking, how do you get into the town of Gatun now?
I think you gotta have ACP palanca.
Yeah, because it's in between the two locks.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
and Alex went in because the work he does. He works on is an engineer and he works on that stuff.
Right, but the town itself is gone technically. I mean, the area is still called Gatun just because of the lake and the locks. They still call them Gatun locks on the old locks. But when we visited there, like you mentioned, the new locks have the water reservoirs there, and where a lot of the old town area of Gatun was, and then they have a really nice observation area up above the locks, and that area they built new roads back there. That's when we went and visited that. It was like, holy cow, where am I? Because I was like this, because it was pure jungle. Right.
So here's an aerial view then of the Gatun Locks area, both the old and the new ones. And as we zoom in, then you can see, there's some of the roads. There's tennis courts, and I mean, What part of this looks familiar to you? In fact, let's even see if you can't even get a Google Earth route in there.
I think the three houses are still there.
Yeah, I mean, it all looks familiar, and actually, you can see right where your pointer is there to the left of it. Those are two of those houses.
Yeah,
looks there should be three there. So I wonder if one of them got torn down.
Well, this field here probably was the third one right here.
Yeah, but
that looks like a spot. Yeah.
Cottages that a lot of people wish they were living in.
Yeah, I can imagine, because again, if you can imagine what this view is like from here to let me see if I can spin this thing around. But yeah, you can, that's quite a nice view there.
Yeah,
the
and
whole
obviously
canal.
there's a lot of clearing that's gone on there that was never there before. I mean, that and your and one of your map it showed Stilson Pond, and that's not even there anymore. I mean, they've totally that's been all filled in for the most part, I think. I think so. I see what you got right there, and I don't know if that's Stilson Pond or not. Right.
Well, it looks like if we go back to this one here real quick, so there's Stilson's Pond there, and in fact, if we go to even in the Canal Zone, the phone book, that area down there, if I'm not mistaken, you can't see it here because they're cropped, but I do believe it said Stilson's Pond, which is where it got that information from, because what I did was uploaded that Canal Zone, the telephone book map in there, and asked it to make a diorama, and it created that. So, it did pull the information from somewhere in there, and so and according to this is Stilson's Point here, and then again when we look back at wherever it is.
Because I had heard that the pond had been filled in with spoil, so but it sure looks like it's right there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
And there looks like there's an area here that looks like that would be a pond.
Looks like that's it. Yeah. So apparently the information I had is wrong. So.
Okay. Well, and some of this does look. See, that does kind of look like it's got a bit of an elevation there. So maybe they did fill it. Maybe it was bigger. Maybe the pond was bigger, and this is what was left of it. But
there was a time when there were houses up on that hill. If that's the pond for sure, and I believe it is.
Wow, that's a trip, man.
At one time,
that's crazy. Yeah, no, it's amazing what has happened there, and truly, whenever you see these, it to me, what's most amazing is how they dwarf, the old locks. Mm-hmm. But let me ask you guys here.
Well, look at the ships, the two ships that are going through.
Right.
There's one. Yeah, you can see
the size of that.
Look at the size of that ship,
man. Let me see if we can catch it from here.
And then there's another one on the other side, Willie, on the old locks.
Yeah, look at that. Okay, so there's the other locks over there, and then here's the new ones here. But and there's that bridge. We're going to talk a little bit about that bridge. There's something real interesting about that bridge that we're going to learn about here in just a bit. But yeah, that's really, really interesting here. What's become of this and how the canal has changed, right? The Canal Zone has changed now, and where it's gone, and truly where Gatun is, because you guys did say it was smaller, but look, there's part of the road going through here. This looks like it was just part of the neighborhood here, and I guess this is where the Civic Center was. Wasn't it around here somewhere?
Yeah, if you go a little further, that building with kind of a long building with a green roof on it.
This one here?
Right, yeah, right in there. That was, so it looks like the pool's gone. There used to be a pool right around there someplace.
Did they have the tennis courts? It might be this. Oh, here it is. Look, it's empty.
Oh, yep, there it is. You're right. That's it. Yep. Okay. But my first job, I worked at the Gatun movie theater. And that's where I worked. So.
Oh, right on.
Usher? Were you an usher?
Oh no, I was everything. Gatun is a pretty small town, so I made the popcorn, I sold the tickets, ran the projector, I did everything.
Got you.
Right on. Yeah, that's something we want to do is a Balboa theater show. But hey, I would imagine running a projector in Gatun would be the same. I can't imagine it'd be different.
That'd be a good show. I'm into that one. I'll start researching that one, Willie, on the architecture side of it, because that is a huge theater for the Canal Zone.
It really, yeah, it really was. It really, really was. This, I think, was the Civic Center, if I'm not mistaken. That shape there, I do believe that was it right there.
I could be wrong, but I think that was a school.
Okay, because that does have that shape of a school as well. Let me
Right.
see if I can find the map. This one here, but it's hard to see. Although I guess I could zoom it in some, but. Because these are definitely, they're high def. That's one thing that's really cool about the Canal Museum collection. All right, so here it is. And what does it say there? I think that says, hold on, let me see if I can get it a little bigger. And Tiernan should be able to chime in on that one. Let me see if she's in the comments there. Easy to see in the photo.
I'd be curious, did Tiernan go to Gatun Elementary?
I would assume so. Okay, so that one says, so there's tennis courts. So they're still there. Senior Council building. And I think later on that became the Civic Center.
Maybe because I believe Gatun Elementary did close eventually, sometime in the 70s. But I could be wrong about that. But I think
so. And then she mentioned that the building here, these green ones were bachelor quarters.
Ah, okay.
Oh, they definitely look like that. Yeah.
Yep. And there's the pool next to it and stuff. Okay, cool. So I like I said, I do believe that was the Civic Center. I could be wrong because there's tennis courts over here. You would think they'd all kind of be all together, but nonetheless, yeah, that's interesting how much that went away. I think this strip of land here, and Tiernan, somebody chime in here. Wasn't this the older, the 4 and 8 family wooden buildings, if I'm not mistaken? I believe that's what these were here. And those were torn down before the new, Gatun, I guess you want to call it, what they called the permanent Gatun was. Okay, the one with the white roof was the Masonic Temple. Let's go back and see. Okay, this one here, I'm assuming, right? We always have that lag. That's why we always got to keep that in mind when we throw that out there. But so this is a swimming pool. Maybe this is a civic center, or I don't know if that's a Masonic Temple, but bachelor quarters. And then maybe this one up here was the Masonic Temple. And she says she went to Margarita Elementary.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay. If you missed the movie, that when it played at Coca-Cola, you had 2 more chances. There you go.
Yeah, Balboa was like that. I think they ran them from like a whole week. One movie the whole week.
Yeah, Paul's chiming in. The progression of movies was Pacific side to Atlantic side. First Coca-Cola, then Margarita, then Gatun. Okay, so you could just chase it around, right?
Yeah.
We always thought Gatun was like the Balboa of the other side.
The gym was attached to the pool. Okay.
That was a great job because when the rule was that you had to run the movie for 10 minutes, whether anybody was there or not. And if nobody showed up, which was quite often, to be honest with you, then you could shut it down, and I got paid for the full time. So.
Oh, right on. That's pretty cool.
And you got to watch movies all the time.
Yeah, right.
Because we didn't have Betamax back then.
Oh, don't think I didn't do that a couple times, but yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Why not? You're gonna hang out. You're getting paid anyway. Might as well hang out and watch the movie. Oh, that's hilarious. Cool. So anyway, guys, this is Gatun, and again, it was a small neighborhood, as we've learned. It wasn't a very big neighborhood, but then again, the Atlantic side, it's funny because initially the Atlantic side was much bigger, right? It was the hub of a lot of the operations, and they just slowly worked their way south, and then that whole Empire area became the central focus of it, the headquarters, the admin building initially, and then as things started to wrap up and they started looking at the more permanent Canal Zone, then it kind of shifted south to Balboa and the Pacific side, and that kind of remained that way.
Yep. The other thing that I remember about Gatun was that it's a very hilly area there.
Yes, I see that.
And
I do see that.
A lot of the houses were very unique in the sense that you would have a sidewalk, and your entrance would be elevated off the sidewalk to your place because your place was actually, as far as the which I'm thinking of, the building supports were down below the hill.
Yes.
Right. So I mean, it was.
Sometimes you could walk out the back door and you'd just go down 2 steps and you're in your backyard, But the front
Exactly.
door, you got to go all the way down the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very
Yep.
true. Very true. So, all right. So anyway, guys, this is something that's also interesting here that we're going to look at. A very iconic view that we're going to transition to and talk about before we head over to Fort San Lorenzo and Portobello. But as you go in this way and you start leaving the canal, either direction, either of the two piers there, you run into this bridge here, okay? And this bridge, correct me if I'm wrong, is this then the and hold on, I just wanted to show you this is kind of a cool new view of what Gatun ended up looking like in the end there. Interesting view there. Gives you a little bit more of that perspective. And as you can see, some of those hills there, the little slopes and stuff. But anyhow, this iconic view of this bridge, and is it called the Atlantic Bridge? Is that the name of the bridge?
I believe so. That's all I've ever seen.
That's what I thought too. And I thought, well, that's interesting because that's the one area where it seems like everything else has had a Spanish or Panamanian name, either changed to or originally built with one of those names. But this one seems to have that English name to it. But this is the Atlantic Bridge. Okay. Really interesting things about this, and I'm not a fan of bridges because I'm very much afraid of heights, and so as much as it would be really iconic to go over these things, one of the things I think of when going to go down to the reunion in Panama next year, hopefully, was even going and golfing, because last year the golf was in I believe it was Horocco or something, somewhere it was on the West Bank. And I'm thinking, man, I don't want to cross that bridge. It really freaks me out because I'm not a fan of bridges. But this is a really cool bridge, guys. It has a world record for the longest span for a 4-lane concrete, what they call a cable-stayed bridge. Basically, a bridge that's held up by the cables from the columns. And as you can see on that image there, it's 530 meters. I mean, so that's 5 football fields plus, all the way across, and your two support columns are on the edges there, so it allows the free flow of shipping traffic, and you really got to go all the way to the edge to be able to do anything there. So it is really interesting, that bridge there and that length there. So again, Panama has an interesting world record there. But have you crossed this bridge, Vern?
Yes, I have. In 2023 when we were there, we crossed over there to go to Fort San Lorenzo and Fort Sherman. Yes.
And Fort Sherman, right. And now they're going to build a couple of highways on that side now. One heading out towards Rodman and the other one heading towards...
I saw that.
I think it's like Veracruz or something like that. So yeah,
well, they've got one that they're talking
highways.
about maybe down the road, eventually getting one that's going to go out by the mines in that area to allow for traffic out there, which
Right.
eventually will probably connect down south to the whatever you want to call that highway down
Highway, Pan American Highway.
Pan American.
Jerry Curtis's race, the Ocean to Ocean, actually, that's kind of like the route they take.
It is very similar. Yeah, we saw that the other day when he posted it in our group, and he was like, "Man, you could overlay that route over, and it pretty much mimics that route." Which means they got a lot of work cut out for.
Yeah, the Tarpon Club was a happening place for nightlife. You know something about the Tarpon Club? It was the first social club built in the Canal Zone during the construction days. And I understand it's still open.
Okay, right on.
And we used to go there. I don't ever remember going into the club itself, but we used to go there to put our boat in because they had a boat launch there to go down the same river. We would go there.
Okay, right on. And then there was another. It was quite a few because remember, prior to the canal, the Atlantic side was really where the hub of everything was, because you think about it, everything came from Spain and some of their bigger Caribbean possessions, and pulled into some of these older forts that we're going to visit here in just a moment. And then, of course, as the railroad was being built, that was really an Atlantic side to Pacific side, construction, it seems like. And so, the Atlantic side always had that prominence and that first step, I guess you can call it. And it's kind of interesting here, but let's go ahead and get across this bridge then, and go visit a few places that that you're familiar with that we're going to talk about that are really historical, way before there was even any thought of a Panama Canal. In fact, some of these areas, you know, the Pacific Ocean was barely even known at that point when some of these places, you know, came to be, but they were very, very prominent, very important places for us there. And these are the forts of San Lorenzo and the fort or the town of Portobello. And so here we've got a map of the Portobello area, because Portobello is, you know, it's very iconic. When people think of Portobello, they think of the photographs, you know, of that long walkway, that wall that has all the gun emplacements, you know, and so, you know, if you're not really familiar with the area or the map, that actual wall is about in the middle of the town here that you can see. There's a little part that juts out, and that's actually where that piece is. But this is Portobello. So, you know, give us a little background on Portobello, you know, as far as its importance to Panama and trading and whatnot.
Well, Portobello, you know, like I mentioned to you earlier, you know, when I was there in 2023, we never went out to Portobello.
That's right.
But when I was a kid, I used to go there
right.
a few times, well, quite a few times actually. My best recollection was a great place to catch butterflies, and so I did a lot of that. But the you know, that's where they have the Black Christ
yes
deal. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know a lot about that. It wasn't anything that we participated in when I lived there, you know, that kind of thing. But it's a big thing there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Absolutely. In fact, we've got it up on the screen now, so we can kind of discuss a little bit about what the whole Black Christ thing was all about. And so, the story goes that there was a recurring storm that prevented the departure of a ship that was going to take this statue back to Spain, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And Ricky,
but
you
Willie,
know better than I do. You go ahead.
Yeah, Willie, before we get started, Portobello, guys, the two forts. One was to protect the Chagres River, you know, and to get into Panama City.
Yep.
And Fort Portobello was actually a bunch of fortifications, right, from San Geronimo and a few other ones. Portobello was where they stored all that gold that was coming from, you know, Mexico and Peru and from the Pacific, and then they would, you know, bring it to the Las Cruces Trail and then store it at Portobello. So Portobello was where they stored the goods, and San Lorenzo is where they protected people from coming in. And something else about San Lorenzo, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Portobello was where all the goods came, and then they were put together and then shipped out. So the statue was part of that process where they were putting them together and sending them to Spain for whatever reason. And for what I understand, it was 2 times that the ship sank, and then the coffin floated back to Portobello. Not once, but twice. So that's when they decided, or some, could have been more, but then that's when they decided, you know what, this guy belongs here. This is
meant
our
to
guy.
be.
Yeah, this is our guy.
Yeah.
So that's a story.
Yeah, the statue that refused to leave, right? It says a shipping mix-up, and it was carved from cocobolo wood, which is a very hard wood, very dense wood, dark brown, heavy wood, and you know, you're talking way back 1658, and so because of this, and you know, back in the day, you know, this predated science in a lot of ways, and that's where a lot of times a lot of your religious traditions and cultures and whatnot evolve from, is because something happens and a big event occurs, and when you can't explain it, then you kind of give it a divinity lean to it, right? And so this became one of those things that said, hey, this is special, it's meant to be, it's a sign of God. And so, you know, it became a tradition that evolved into something that is still done today. You know, and this is done, I guess, what, in October, right, Ricky?
In October. And you know what? It was actually built under Philip II, King of Spain, Willie, in the 1500s. So this thing has been around for a long time. Yes.
Yeah, no kidding.
Late 1500s, but, you know, still 1500s. And then later heavily reinforced in the 17th century, you know, because of Henry Morgan and all those guys.
Right.
Pirates.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Several pirates that have a history in that region, and some that Henry Morgan we always know because that's that's like the Panama pirate, man. That's the pillager and plunderer of Panama.
Yeah.
But Sir Francis Drake also did a lot of that stuff here, and in fact, right off the coast, right on the opening of that inlet for Portobello, there's an island named after him, and legend is that he was buried in a lead coffin or lead-lined coffin and dropped in the water there, and that he is somewhere out there in the water still to this day.
Yeah, I heard that also. Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting stuff there. But going back to the Black Christ, a couple other interesting things about it. The saint that they, I guess, made or came out of this whole legend and story then was the patron saint of criminals. Okay? And so, as it says here, thousands of maleantes would seek forgiveness from El Nasa. Or El Nasa, I don't know how you pronounce that, but that was the patron saint of criminals. And one of the ways that they do it, and they do that whole penance thing, right? We're in the middle of Lent right now, and you sacrifice something or you give something up, whatever it is, during the time of Lent. And so that's always been a big part of a lot of religions, is doing something, to please, the God or whatever the case is. And so one of the things you have here is that pilgrimage. Right, and so you have a 53-mile walk every October, all the way from Panama City, up to 80,000 pilgrims. So if you're driving down the Transisthmian up to Colón from Panama in October, be on the lookout, right? Especially at night because they're all wearing purple.
80,000.
That's a big group, man. They ain't playing, So. But that's really an interesting story that still continues today, right? Because you're talking 1658 when this whole statue came to be and its whole story, and here you are in 2026, and they're still walking a pilgrimage, to the numbers of 80,000 people in order to do this thing. So midnight procession, 8 p.m. start. 80 men use a stunted step. Not sure what that means, but apparently that's part of the ritual. There is something they do at 8 p.m., maybe carrying up the statue or something to that effect. But it'd be kind of interesting to look up some more information on that and see what that's all about.
Or maybe how those guys that whip their back and they're walking.
Yes.
Maybe something like that.
That's kind of what it sounds like. Maybe it sounds like something like that here.
Some YouTube videos or whatever showing them. At
Portobello, man, a lot of history. The Henry Morgan raided it 1668.
Right,
and it was a small force too that went in there and did this surgical attack, and then
it was the start of a bigger operation.
And then 3 years later, he went down the Chagres and ransacked the Panama City.
Right. And let's pull up some info here that our friend Akita from Japan is pulling up here. And good morning, Akita. Good to see you on
Akita.
Here. In 1860, Japanese samurai risked their lives to bathe in the fresh water at Portobello's river mouth to cleanse themselves. A brave piece of history. That's interesting. And that's something we're going to have to maybe do something, Akita, and maybe get some Japanese history, because there seems to be some very interesting ties between the nation of Japan and those early periods of Panama and Colombia history, I guess you could call it, right, with the railroad.
Why, Willie? During World War II, they had this plan to attack it, and at the end, they never did. They probably said, you know what? Not the canal, man. Well, not the canal. That place is sacred, man. I have a feeling.
That would be the case. Who knows? That would be interesting if that was the case. But there is a very unique history there, and yeah, I would love to talk to you about that, and maybe we could put some Japanese Panama Canal history together, because I think there's a couple of stories there as well.
Yeah, I think so too, man.
But
no, still, it's that fort has always been very, very important for world commerce from the Spanish Empire. I mean, today is not really involved with much world commerce. It's more of a tourist place. But during the Spanish Empire, that was both those forts were one of the most strategically important,
absolutely,
forts of the Spanish Empire.
Yes, I mean, you were almost entirely, all the treasures from South America were funneling out through Panama, through the Isthmus of Panama, so it really, really was a place of importance. And it makes sense why, Henry Morgan and Francis Drake and the likes of these guys, targeted, Panama and Portobello and Fort San Lorenzo because, you know, you if you want to pull off those heists, you got to get rid of those big guards first, and that's what these places were. So they knew what they were doing, right? And they were very patient. It took several years to do it, but they eventually did.
You know, but they had problems, Willie. From what I was reading, is they had a lot of corruption problems too in those forts, and you know they were sending in troops that just weren't prepared, and those were some of the reasons why they lost. I
imagine life was. I mean, think about how crappy life was. You know, building the canal for the French and for the Americans. God, imagine what life was like 200 years before that, when you had even less technology to help you. You know, and if you're working on those forts and you've been there for a year, you're probably kind of pissed off by now. You're really hating life at this point, you know. And so somebody tempts you with some gold and some silver that you keep seeing all these other people handling, and you get no piece of that. Guess what? You're going to be more than happy to take some of that and maybe look the other way when somebody does something. So that would make sense. Honestly, I think it's, you know. I mean, hell, the U.S. recognized that even building the canal, that you had to keep the people there happy, right? And so they put so much into the effort to give us, you know, entertainment and opportunities to really enjoy life down there. And so, you know, it makes sense that even back then that was a big problem.
Well, you know, Portobello was known that's where they protected this and stored all the gold, and then they also had, Willie, a lot of like world fairs there. Because remember, all merchandise was there, so that's where where everybody came for trade. So of course, this became very ideal for pirates, or as some might say, Willie, profiteers.
Yes, privateers.
Privateers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what is the difference between a privateer and a
Willie,
pirate?
there is a lot of discussion on that. You know, what I came up with is the pirates. They would attack the civilian population and steal all their their treasure for profit, right? They would then sell
They're in it for themselves,
and they took advantage of all the weak spawn points and all that stuff. But the privateers, they were actually backed by the English crown.
The crown, yep.
Yeah, so was Henry Morgan a pirate, or was he an unofficial admiral
Depends on
of
who's
the
asking.
English crown? So in Panama, I'm sure everybody calls him a pirate, but I'm almost positive that in England he's a privateer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the privateers really back then were used as proxy warfare.
Sure. Well,
Which
and
today we know what that is.
If you're doing that on behalf of the crown, the British had such a large presence out in the oceans that, hey, you're probably very likely to run into a British naval vessel somewhere. And if you got papers that show that you're doing this on behalf of the king or the queen, then life's going to be
they'll let him go, right? So Henry was probably more of a unofficial admiral than he was a pirate.
Yeah, indeed.
And we know he sacked the city of Panama. So.
Well, he did, and we're going to learn a little bit about that here, because part of that involved Fort San Lorenzo. And this one is what Vern is very familiar with, is Fort San Lorenzo. He visited there a lot when he lived down there, and then, of course, when he's gone back to visit. So, Vern, here's a little history graphic of Fort San Lorenzo. Give us your history of Fort San Lorenzo, what it's all about and all that good stuff.
Well, first of all, what I was going to mention this earlier, in the sense we were talking about Gatun, is that when the railroad was built, initially when they started building the railroad, it was started in Gatun.
Oh, okay.
And they moved backwards, in a sense, to Manzanillo Bay. I probably said that wrong. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
And
we got Capira Ricky here, so you're good.
And then they moved on to move the railroad, because they had the access, because of the river, from what I understand, was easier than trying to get inland to that.
Interesting.
That point, using the river
for supplies and stuff.
What we call Limon Bay out there off of Calan was really not much of a bay at all. I mean, it was dredge work and so forth that created that into a bay.
Okay, so that was more of a marshy area.
Yeah. So So it makes a lot of sense that they use the Chagres River, got to Gatun, because that's where the Gatun River and the Chagres River met.
Right.
And then Chagres continued, the Gatun River emptied into the Chagres River, and that continued out to the ocean. And they met right there, and that's where the railroad started.
Right. And real quick then, also, for what it's worth, the where is it? I'm trying to pull that one back up. The Gatun River. Oh, here we go. So on the map here, right, the Gatun River, or the Chagres River, I'm sorry, the town of Gatun, as you can see here in the center here now, this is the dam, okay, the Gatun Dam, okay? The town of Gatun is literally right here.
Yeah, it was right there, right?
I mean, this entire, all this land that you see here before you see the woods there, that is all dirt that was added in to build this thing up. It's massive. The entire complex of the Gatun Dam, you got to come out this far. All this open grass, that is what was actually built. That is what all that dirt and spoil from Culebra and everywhere else was brought in to build that up. The last piece was the concrete dam structure itself.
Right.
But
it's
all of that,
an earthen dam, basically. Yeah,
it absolutely is an earthen dam, with the exception of that small piece in the middle.
Yeah.
So
right?
which river is that we're looking at?
That's the Chagres.
That's the Chagres. So where's Fort San Lorenzo?
So you follow it this
all the way
way
down to the end there,
and right
here.
So there it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
yeah. So one of the things they said, Willie, that Fort San Lorenzo was for, not only to protect that entrance, but it was to tax everybody too. It's a place that they would collect their taxes from.
Well, and that's what, prior to the railroad, people that tried to cross Panama, they went up the river. And
yes, they did.
And Gatun kind of got its start, from what I understand, as a village because of that. Because people would spend the night there. They'd eat, of course, so forth, and it was
So Vern, what was the name of the town that was across the way from Fort San Lorenzo, especially during the gold rush?
Well, that's Pina.
Pina, and there was another nickname for it.
Oh, that I don't know. I'm sorry.
Have you heard the term Yankee Town?
Yes, I have.
That was Yankee Town.
Okay.
And one of the interesting things about Yankee Town, this is right before the railroad. Okay, and what happened, people would get off the ships right here at the entrance there, the ships coming in from the United States, right? And because remember, the railroad was built in what? Finished in 1950 or 1855, right?
Right, correct.
Yes, that sounds right, yes.
The gold rush, think of Ricky's favorite team, the 49ers. It started in 1849. So there was 6 years of a lot of Americans trying to get to California via Panama, and there wasn't a railroad to cross.
Right.
So they had to get off their ship from the United States right there in this area there in Yankeetown or in Pinas. And one of the interesting things about that area when all this stuff happened, $2 hammocks was big business. And you think about it, and $2 today comes out to $75 for what I would imagine is a very rudimentary and cheap piece of cloth with some ropes on the end of it. But there was no lodges, there was no hotels, there was not a lot of that stuff there, and it was going to take you several days to cross over to the Pacific side. So as soon as you got there, like, hey, you're going to need a place to sleep, and it's always wet here in Panama, so you need to be off the ground. Here's a hammock. It's $75. What?
Well, and also the insects. You need definitely to get down.
Right. So, but anyway, that's the entrance there, and that'll tell you that's where Fort San Lorenzo is, because again, it is the entrance of the canal. As Vern is saying here, this was non-existent. All this stuff they dug out here, there was just a bunch of marshes here, which is why they put a fort here. They had river access here. Again, there was no water coming in and out of the canal here. None of that was there. This was just really marshy, shitty land, And then you go all the way up here to Portobello. Portobello is way up in this area here.
20 miles away. Or is it kilometers? Yeah. I think it's 20 miles away, yes.
Somewhere in this area here, but I think it's right here.
We could probably say that Limon
right there,
Bay
yes.
was the French did most of that work for us.
Yes, indeed.
They dredged that out.
That was the one, for lack of a better term, the one really good piece they did or they left. That was actually something worthwhile using was that initial dredging out and creating the Atlantic side, which then was the base of operations to get started with the U.S. Canal operation. So
right,
there you go. Now we know. Look, that's very important there because we've always heard Costa Arriba and Costa Abajo, and I never knew what the heck that was, other than just the name of beaches. But now it is Costa Bajo, San Lorenzo, and Costa Arriba is Portobello, because they were built together as a layered defense.
Right. One of the differences between Fort San Lorenzo and Portobello, at least from a perspective of when in the 1800s and into now, was that Portobello. If you go back to that map you were just showing, it's built up. There's people living around that whole fort. A lot of it. Fort San Lorenzo, you don't find that. I mean, then part of that was because that was Fort San Lorenzo was American property. Right. Correct. Okay, because it was within that jurisdiction area because of the Chagres River. Yeah. And so nobody nobody lived there.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's a great point. That it wasn't. There really is a big. Oops, sorry, let me switch this over. There really is a big difference in the way those even grew and built up even further down the road, right? Because Portobello continued to evolve and grow as a town, right? And it's still a big, vibrant town today. Whereas Fort San Lorenzo, that area became part of U.S. military installation, so it was off limits. So there was no growth there, and in fact, whatever was there, they got rid of it.
Yeah, well, it sounded like it was a fun place to go hang out, as Paul's letting us know here. Fun nighttime boat trips.
Right?
Yeah. Dark, scary, and fun. So I guess those guys would have a couple beers and get on a boat and cruise the dark the dark channels of that river.
Let me see if I can.
Now, let me ask you a question, Willie. Can we see how you get there from, let's say, civilization? Because it looks like it's the boonies, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if we can't find a road here.
Well, it's not anymore, but back when I lived there, yes, it was the boonies.
Okay.
They have a very nice road now.
All right, so there's some roads. And it looks like there's more towns and I guess what you could call suburbs. These are all housing areas here. So I imagine this is the main road that you're taking here to go out there, and it's going right along the town. And
there's nothing showing up on the screen right now. So
we have wahoo in Panama. That's one of the best tasting fish of Hawaii.
All right, let me see here. I'm trying to get
excellent fish, wahoo.
All right,
but
there it is.
When I was in Boy Scouting for just a very short period of time when we lived on the Atlantic side,
right,
and we camped out there at Fort San Lorenzo. I remember doing that, and that was quite the experience. And I think I mentioned this in the email to you, Will, was that compared to when I lived there in the 70s to now when we visited in 2023, Fort San Lorenzo, for lack of a better way of saying it, is sanitized.
Right.
Yes. It was overgrown when we were there. When we lived there in the 70s, there was trees and so forth growing out of the walls, and that's all gone now. They've completely cleaned it up.
Yeah, I did read about that where it's
the place.
It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that in itself is opens up the funding from the UN and from different organizations that allow you to do a lot of these things, like you said, to clean this place up and make it a place worth visiting. Because again, like Ricky mentioned earlier, you're talking 600 years this thing's been around, 500 years, so that's a tremendous history, and it's world history, right? It's not just something unique to Panama. It was the crossroads of the world there. But
and I know some people might disagree with me on what I'm about to say, and I'm not trying to be controversial here, but as Americans, we kind of did a disservice to Fort San Lorenzo. And what I mean by that is that we pilfered that site.
Right.
And there's a lot of history that's gone forever because of that.
Sure.
Pilfered, digging for bottles and stuff like that.
Yep, all that stuff. Cannonballs. Some of the cannons also ended up either getting damaged and or not, or completely missing. Yeah.
Few Zonians must have those in her backyard.
I don't know. Possibly. I don't know.
No, that's really interesting, and here, the history of Fort San Lorenzo. It is interesting how it started, your wood, and then it started evolving there. We talk about that attack earlier, and that was, that was brutal, right? That was, Henry Morgan may have been a privateer and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, the guy was ruthless, right? And he there wasn't a whole lot of reason to take prisoners back in those days, so you got rid of people basically and got out of the way. But part of Henry Morgan's assault on Panama City started on the Atlantic side, and it started a long time before. It wasn't something
3
that
years.
was like, it wasn't a 1 week campaign. Most people assume that as it's typically told, and we've always learned, and through the movies and everything else, that these pirates are always on big ships, and they come in and they plunder an area, and then they pull up and go to shore and take over and everything. And that wasn't the case for Panama with Henry Morgan. He started on the Atlantic side. He started with these forts here because you know what he didn't want to do when he finished pilfering them was have to take all that treasure all the way around South America and go back up to wherever he was going, So it was much easier to get rid of that, to get it on your ship on the Atlantic side because there wasn't a canal back then. And so he started by basically taking these forts out, right? And it was brutal. They had 314 men were the Spanish garrison at Fort San Lorenzo. How many were left when he finished? It's on the graphic there somewhere if you guys can see it, but there was 14 survived that.
14 survivors. Wow.
They wiped them all out, man. He said, we're not taking prisoners, and we're going to make sure that when we do have a boat full of loot coming back up the Chagres, in a couple of years, there's not going to be a garrison there to stop us, right? And so it was chaos, and one of the things you see in the graphic there with the fires there was again, look at the type of architecture in Panama back in the day, right? The roofs were all thatched roofs. Everything there was grass. That was the most abundant commodity out there was grass.
The bohío, that's right. The bohío was all
Exactly.
grass roof.
And so they launched a burning arrow into that thing, and it just happened to be where they were stockpiling all their gunpowder and cannon fodder and everything else. And so, big, massive explosion. And now, guess what? Now you got a bunch of a garrison there that has nothing to defend themselves with. And
Look
so,
at this, yes,
Somebody needs to make a
sir.
movie about that.
yes.
Oh yeah, yes. There's a movie coming out pretty soon. It's called
There is
1671.
indeed.
Yeah.
Seriously. Wow.
And our Canal Zone historian is Dave Dawson's chiming in there. We're going to pick up on Morgan and Drake
Yes.
on the others on the Pacific side on 4-3. So great segue for it is to finish that story because it is an incredible saga that they did there.
Man, I swear,
and
yeah.
again, like Ricky said earlier, most people assume that as all typical pirates are portrayed, these guys sailed into Panama Bay on these big ships and ransacked the place, and it wasn't the case at all, man. It came from behind, and they took care of them that way, So that's going to be a great story. I'm looking forward to that. But this is what it ended up being, Fort San Lorenzo for a while. It got destroyed and whatnot. And then from there, Vern, what ended up happening with Fort San Lorenzo?
Well, it was abandoned, for a while. Then I believe the Spanish took interest in it again, and built it for fortifications so that
In the 1700s, yeah, in the 1700s, they redesigned and rebuilt it. Yeah.
They used the stone and masonry type technique, and that's what you see nowadays there for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was something else that they ended up using Fort San Lorenzo for that was kind of, I guess you won't say ominous, but it was there was something interesting that they used that for.
I'm sorry, that
Well,
was
defense and tax is the two things I read up on. I mean that was available for me to read. What else?
They also did whatchamacallit, it became a prison. Fort San Lorenzo became a prison. It sure did.
And that was during the canal times, right?
Oh no!
Or the railroad.
During railroad times, yes.
During railroad
Correct.
times.
During railroad times, yes.
And,
they did.
that makes a lot of sense because if you were to go down below the entrance to the fort, at the bottom, there were all these single rooms down there. And that would make, I bet you that's where the cells were.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. Yep, and that's what became of Fort San Lorenzo. But let's take a look at some recent stuff from Fort San Lorenzo from your visit there, because you sent some interesting pictures there of Fort San Lorenzo and of course of Gatun and stuff as well, so we can kind of give some context to a lot of these different pictures here. But real quick, Paul saying I think the area mouth of the Chagres was pretty hard to navigate.
Yes.
It was. The Chagres River, guys, was a very powerful river. Okay, during the rainy season, it was treacherous. I mean, there's a lot of water there. You think about the amount of water that's in Gatun Lake, and that's supplied basically by one river, and that's the Chagres. So, yeah, that thing, when it was flowing before the days of the canal, getting in there was tough. I mean, it was, you had your work cut out for you there. But
I remember when we would go over to the Tarpon Club and go out down the river down to Fort San Lorenzo in Pena Beach area, that there, I'm not sure, but I know that my dad had some type of source or whatever would tell him when or if they would ever release water from the dam.
Yeah,
that was not a good time to go down that river.
That is correct. Yeah, you definitely didn't want to go down that river, even cross that bridge there by the dam. Yeah, when those things go off. And I've seen a couple of videos of that. It's impressive, man. Let me tell you what, you want to see a bunch of water coming out, man. It is impressive.
The ground shakes.
Yeah. You can almost feel it in the videos when you watch them, man. You're like, man, that's pretty impressive there. So what are we looking at here?
Okay, this is from the visitor center there. They have a visitor center at now, and this is looking back toward. This is the entrance to the fort. Okay. My nomenclature of what certain things mean, I'm not sure. Sure. But that building you see in the center, again, that was in real poor shape when I remember when we visited there, and there was a wooden bridge going across there. It's now all concrete and metal going across the moat. There's a moat going around part of the fort. Yes. And I do not remember, I should have really looked through those pictures closer, but I think the rounded roof on there was added. I don't think it was a rounded roof before. It was.
Yes. In fact, what happened, part of what you see here is, to your point of all the damage on it, they kind of let it go, right? And Mother Nature took over, and especially in the tropics, it doesn't take long for Mother Nature to take over. Sure. And one of the things was a lot of places where they would hold water. And so what they've done with a lot of these is they're redoing it and upgrading them and restoring them. They're trying to put some rounded features, which were not uncommon in that era in architecture anyway, but it's helping to keep that water off of it so that, 100 years from now, someone's still enjoying, the old ruins and relics there. So that's part of that, where you may see in an old drawings, and you're like, wait a minute, that didn't have that same style, but it was to avoid a lot of that water collection, because that's been a really, really big problem for them, apparently.
I mean, they've really cleaned it up. Let me tell you, it's not, like I said, when we got there that day, it was like, are you sure this is Fort San Lorenzo?
Yeah, no, it really has. And not a knock on the military either, but, the military was there with a mission. Their mission wasn't restoration.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, ultimately, if you want to put it down to basics, the military's mission is to destroy, not to rebuild. Right? So, there's not a lot of priority in cleaning stuff up. That's somebody else will do that later on. But yeah, and again, a lot of that just ended up being off limits. On the Atlantic side, it seems like a lot more of the military installations had a lot more maybe covert or secretive missions. They had sub-communications, you had jungle warfare training. And so I would imagine places like that, they didn't want to make it accessible. They didn't want to make it welcoming to a lot of people. So part of that made sense. Just let the place go to hell and people will stay away. And I could be wrong, but it would make sense.
Fort Sherman is so out of the way. I mean, that place is inaccessible.
Yeah, it really
is. So that goes to, look, we understand that the spillway was a big event in the Atlantic side.
Yeah. That's what Paul's saying here. Look, they opened all the gates at the spillway when he was in high school, and they unofficially closed the school. That's cool, man. That's an event. I can imagine.
Yeah. I guess the sound, the roars, like an F1 race from back in the day, because nowadays.
It was loud. That was definitely loud.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it's got to be impressive to see that amount of water moving that quickly. I mean, that's that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's good for those guys. But so anyway, let's look at some couple more things on these pictures. Here's some signage there. We don't have to read the signage, but we kind of understand it. But here's an interesting information here, right? Because this map is showing the path going from Panama, which was, again, back then there was no canal. As you can see there's some rivers and stuff, and actually gives you an interesting depiction of that continental divide, and you see what they had to dig through, but that's for another day. But the red curving line there coming out of Panama, okay, if we can see it there, I'm going to make this a little bigger just so we can really get a good perspective here for just a moment. But that red line there that you see, this is the Las Cruces Trail, okay? This is the area that you went by land. This is the mule trains, etc., that you went through. And then there's a little town here called Cruces, right? And that's where you caught the Chagres River to then work your way back up there. And of course, in this situation, you're technically going downriver, even though you're going north, right? But you're going with the flow of the river, so I imagine it's probably a lot easier than going the other way. But then this jagged line here, what is this line here?
Well, that's the trail that went to Portobello.
Right, and there's a name for that one.
Oh, I don't know.
That's the Camino Real.
Okay.
So you had the Las Cruces.
Las Cruces? Yes, you're right.
Correct. Now, the Camino Real, interesting thing about the Camino Real, okay, that one, a lot of times, especially in a rainy season, was very, very difficult to get through, as you know, in Panama. And so that one tended to be used more often than not during the dry season. Whereas the Las Cruces one, especially because you get in that river in Chagres at Cruces there, you're cruising now, man. That water is rushing. You're getting up to Chagres and San Lorenzo in no time. Right.
Willie, wouldn't that be the road that goes to Matin Dam?
Yes, that's around that area where that went out there, because Matin Dam in that area there was where the water that helps feed part of that to get out there to Chagres and to obviously to Gatun Lake and fill that up. So interesting perspective there on that image there of the Chagres River, the importance of it, and why the Panama Railroad was so important. Because it wasn't that big of a challenge to get from Fort San Lorenzo to Cruces, but then from there to here, that's where the hell came in. Because those are just thick, nasty jungles, man, and they're very unforgiving, as we all know. So, the Panama Railroad, suddenly it made sense to pay $2,000 and $3,000 for passage on that railroad, because it may save your life. A lot of people never made it all the way across. So. So here we are, those of you guys walking through the fort there. And again, interesting thing about Fort San Lorenzo, it wasn't all rock. A lot of that is coral that they use, right? And there's an interesting thing about that, and are you familiar with this, Vern, about why coral was actually more beneficial when it came to defending the fort? So
I think I read some, but I don't remember what it said.
I would say absorb the impact because of all the
Yes.
the empty areas.
Correct. It's coral is very hollowed out. So it's all.
Correct.
You could almost say it's softer, right? And the wall would absorb the impact, whereas the impact onto a solid rock, all that shaking, that impact would cause more damage long term. So one would think that coral is soft or worse, but it actually was beneficial. And so that's why that fort, once they built it that way, it pretty much remained intact. It was really hard to bring it down and whatnot. But so now is this the moat that's going around it?
That's part of it, yes.
Okay, interesting. As you can see, you come in there, rainy or dry season, good luck getting up there, right? Because there's going to be somebody waiting up there to take you out.
Directly in front of us there, you see the two openings. That was where that above that is where that wooden bridge used to be.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they obviously beefed that up to make it safe for tourists.
Sure, and not have to rebuild it every few years when it rots.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. That's looking out to the Chagres, down the Chagres.
So this is looking south towards the Pacific Ocean.
What's that?
Towards the Pacific Ocean, technically, down way. Obviously, it's not in sight, but in other words, just looking inland, and then behind the camera would be the Atlantic Ocean or the Caribbean.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And this area, this was where there was, according to our guide. That's our guide Joe there on the left. He said that this was a gun emplacement at one time. So,
okay. Okay. And then I guess across the way on the right side is where that town was.
correct.
That was Yankee Town or Pina. What do you call it? Pina?
Pina Beach, yeah.
Pina Beach. Okay. Right on. Okay.
Wasn't
cool.
Pina Beach a big surf beach? Am I getting that wrong?
It might be. We're going to have to.
I don't know. I don't know about surfing there. I wouldn't, that's the one thing that a lot of people may not know or whatever, is that was a pretty good place to find sharks.
Wow. Okay.
Out there. I mean, that's one of the, my dad told me that hammerhead sharks visit there quite often. So
And hammerheads are very aggressive. You don't want to mess with hammerheads. That's for sure. That's cool. That's very
Joe
cool.
Berger?
Yep, Joe Berger. Yep.
Oh, right on. Right on. So
Yeah,
there's another view of
Devil's
the
Beach.
Chagres.
Yeah, you're right. Devil's Beach was the surf beach. I remember I heard something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, there you go. That's right. It is. I remember
Tiernan,
hearing
you're doing a
about
good
Devil's
job.
Beach.
Now, Tiernan comes from the Corrigan family. I believe they've been around also from
Yes,
the
they have
railroad
some
days.
Zonian pedigree.
that's a
I'm
old-
gonna
that's a
correct
long
myself
turn.
here and agree with Tiernan. She's right. It was called Devil's Beach, not Pina. Sorry. Just getting
Okay.
my
But there
beach-
was a beach. There was a Pina Beach, but I'm not sure that was where their surfing was.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep.
Go for camping and Las
Hey,
Vegas. Okay, there
bud.
you go. Ah, yes.
Got all the historians on tonight.
Yeah.
Right on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for those guys that don't know, Bud Tristano he was United States Air Force stationed in Howard Air Force Base, but really, really made the best of his time in the Canal Zone, stationed down there, and I mean, just absolutely made the best of it. Got out and about, and fortunately for us, he was a very avid photographer and videographer. It still is, and so he captured a lot of the zone down there,
The
which.
Zonian life. Yes.
Especially
He's
the
been
slide.
baptized Zonian, so he's
Yeah, he is
100%
he's
Zonian
a
now.
Great Zonian, and he's on YouTube. Look him up, Bud Tristano, and he's very much an outdoors person. He's very much into nature, and he's still to this day. You look at his videos online. The guy still to this day loves to go out and camp and hike through different nature trails and stuff. So, but he is a great Zonian historian. He's someone that when he was on our show one time, he made an interesting point about mentioning how. On Fridays or Thursdays, right, when he's getting ready to head out, he'd be out and about, and he'd see the people looking out the windows, up in the barracks there, and when he'd pull in on Sunday, they're still sitting up there looking out the window, and he's like, "Man, you just did not enjoy this wonderful country you were stationed in," and he made the best of it. So appreciate you chiming in, buddy. You do have some great Zonian history, but all right. So here's another view of the Chagres. Right, that's that same entrance, and again, guys, the Chagres River was the primary source to fill that lake to give us our Panama Canal. Without it,
Absolutely, yeah.
that canal doesn't work, man. So
Yeah, I mean, everything about that river. I mean, where there's the one saying that all Zonians are identified with. If you haven't drank the Chagres River water, you haven't, whatever that saying goes.
Yes, indeed. That's like holy water. There's something close to it. It definitely is here. So there's your cannons there, right? These are the famous Atlantic side cannons, and there's a lot of them back in the day. That's how they defended these places, right? Typically your forts were elevated so you could get a good visibility. You weren't forced to fire at the last minute. You could see these things coming in from far away. And you think about it, back in the day, guys, your ships weren't motorized. So, barring a really strong inland wind, you see them in the horizon, you got time to prepare, right?
3 days. No, just kidding.
I mean, it was fun that you could start moving stuff around, get yourself situated and whatnot. But that's really cool, man. I've always enjoyed seeing that. I remember going to Portobello as a kid and seeing the cannons there. They were really, really cool to see.
Snook, another good fish. Snook and wahoo, delicious fish.
We used to fish for those. Those are cool to catch. It was fun.
Yeah. So this is the top of that fort, then, right?
Yep. That same building you saw in that off the bridge there. Yep, that's what the top of the fort looks like now.
And again, you can see the great visibility because you are way up above even the canopy in the surrounding area there. So you definitely from Fort San Lorenzo, you definitely. I mean, these guys, Henry Morgan and those guys, and Drake, pretty damn good job, man. Because to sneak up on a place that's got such great visibility, you're doing something right.
Well, my understanding, and again, Dave Dahlstrom probably would have better information than what I'm going to say. But my understanding is that when Morgan attacked the fort, he didn't do it from the ocean. He went up the coastways and came across land, the backside of the fort, and attacked it.
Yes, he was known for that, and that's certainly what he did in Panama, on the Pacific side, which Dave's going to cover.
Well, Nombre de Dios was still around that time, right? So maybe he landed there and then wrapped around.
Probably marched from there. That makes sense, And that Nombre de Dios was a big deal, and that was probably the bigger of the Atlantic ports for a long time.
Yeah, and then they built Portobello to kind of help that one out.
Yep, exactly.
Portobello came in after, yeah.
Yeah, there it is again. So now, underneath that, can you walk around inside those areas, or is it closed off?
No, you can walk around inside there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
And
what do we got here?
This is the visitor center. These are were dancers that were wearing the typical Cologne dress.
The Afro-Caribbean look.
Afro-Caribbean, yep. Dress and so forth there, and they sang a song when we were there and danced, and that's my sister-in-law in the middle there.
Right on.
Photo op.
There you go.
And but no, it was again. I mean, I learned a lot when I was there in 2023 that I never knew before. I mean,
right.
We and not to blame anybody but myself for that matter, is that I never took much interest in the culture when I lived there.
That's what we've been talking about for 2 years now, that we didn't care about it back then, and now we wish we had.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to have had that knowledge and that experience to tell people, this was this, and we used to do this, and we took it for granted, and now we look back and go, man, we had a great opportunity. We had front row seats to a great culture and history, and we just ignored it.
Yep. My only experience with culture per se was that our church, I swear it was once a year, maybe twice a year, we would go down to Cologne and make a donation.
Right. Yep.
To one of the orphanages there.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's it.
That is a Canal Zone, a Zonian DNA, because till today, Alex Reyes from the Canal Zone reunion, they donate.
Yeah.
All the proceeds to different charities, and one is in Cologne actually.
Yes, yeah.
I believe it's the heart one is in Cologne.
I believe so. Yeah, they do a great job there to give back to the local communities there.
That's the Zonian spirit, guys.
So here's a view of that spillway, that dam, looking at it from the Chagres River. It's actually it's a redirect of the Chagres River, technically, but it does meet up with it, maybe about a half mile on the other side of this bridge here, but. That's what it normally looks like until they decide to turn that thing on, and remember that on the other side of that, the water level there is 85 feet above sea level behind you, right? And so this is what the canal depends on as far as water to move the ships in and out. And so they're not always having that thing open. Sometimes they got to keep that closed to hold the water in there because they got to use it for ships, right? Especially in the dry season.
There in the front there, that's the bridge that was there when I lived there. They built a new bridge.
Oh, that's what you're standing on now.
Right, and so that was the bridge that that bridge further up there was what people would stand on if they got a chance. As I remember, I mean, the time when I went out there was like 1979 when they dumped it.
Right.
The only time that I got the chance to do that, and they wouldn't even
let you on that bridge if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Well, that's what Tiernan's putting on here now. That says when all the gates are open, you can't even see that bridge in front of you.
Yeah,
because that's how far that water's shooting out over it.
Well, I believe, like I said, it was 1979, if I remember right, when they dumped it because we had a really good rainy season.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't think they opened every single gate though, because I remember. I mean, I've kicked myself for not taking pictures.
Right.
I don't remember the water going over the bridge, at least, but it was pretty darn close.
Sure. Enough to tell you, man, I don't need to be here.
Well, right now we have the water levels are almost capacity, and it's dry season. So there's going to be a lot of opening up those gates coming up.
Oh, you would probably see on social media video. You're right. You're absolutely right, because we're just getting into the rainy season. right? And so, yeah, we're not going to be lacking for water in that lake anytime for the next 6 or 8 months.
Right, right. I
A
mean,
year
they
for
are
that
expecting
matter.
El Nino, so we'll see. But if El Nino does show up, they're prepared. Like I said, they're a top max level right now. Both the lake and the dam, the two places that they measure, they're
Right.
both at the capacity.
Sure, and Paul's talking about they opened the gates on the 14th and about all 14 gates. Wow.
72.
That's a lot of gates, man. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, you'll probably see that this rainy season. You'll
That's
probably see
awesome.
that. Yeah.
So this view here, then, this is the new locks, as you can tell, because you can see the water tanks behind the ship
And
there.
the size of the ship.
Yeah, the size of the ship, man. And that's pretty impressive because that ship is filling up the chamber, too. So that thing couldn't come close to getting through the other canal, the other locks.
You know, one thing I learned from Captain Andrew on his post today, they fill up behind with water to help push the ship out.
Yes, yes. Captain Eftimitis posted a video today, and sometimes when they have a ship, especially when it's got a tight fit, and this ship was in the old locks, and they close the gate behind it, and I guess they opened just the valves for the culverts that are directly behind the ship, not the ones in front. And so that water surges and it has to leave somewhere. And there's only a few inches on either side of those locks because the ship is wide enough where
tight,
it basically
right.
blocks it. So it helps the water itself to speed up, the ship going through. That was
Getting out of
pretty
the
interesting.
chamber.
Yeah. And I forgot what the term he said they used for it. There's a term that they asked for, a hydro push.
A hydro
like that.
push, yeah. Well, he's going to be on what? Maybe next week?
He's going to be on. Remember, in May, we're going to have all
In May.
Canal.
Got you.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
May.
So,
That's a long time.
yeah, it is. Well, April's going to go by quick, man. Because look, next week.
Yeah, I know, guys. Already
is the end of March.
April 20th. Next thing you know, hey, what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, that's it. Just like that, we'll be at the reunion and all that good stuff. So there's that ship now leaving the locks here. Aguas Claras is the name of these locks here.
Right.
And then getting ready to go to the Atlantic Bridge there that we just saw there with that world record 530-meter span. How about that?
Yeah,
so this is an interesting picture here. I think we did okay. It was good. So this is a wide angle picture here, but it's interesting that it shows. And let's see if I can zoom it in a little bit here. So this then shows the old Gatun locks. Is that correct? Yeah, it is because you see the channel going out to the ocean. Yeah. And so the Gatun Lake is behind us then, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then, of course, there's so now...
Gatun, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Gatun.
This is Gatun.
And then what's that to the right?
So this is that little causeway, and this is where the railroad goes over.
Uh-huh.
Right.
All right. What is this building here?
That's where the Cayucos took off from.
Well, I think that's where, even today, I think that's where they park the tugs.
Is that the yacht club?
No.
No?
No, it's not the yacht club. But I mean that's.
But the yacht club is on the Gatun Lake side, correct? Not on the ocean side.
Correct. It's now.
Okay.
And I don't know. Again, I'm not sure. I believe that when they built the new locks, they had to move the Gatun Yacht Club a little further.
That would make sense.
To the right. I mean,
sure.
Because it was so it's in a new location. What they did.
What we're seeing on the right is where the new locks are, right?
Well, further over, much further.
All the way to the edge.
Oh,
yeah,
further
way
over.
to the edge of that water.
That's right. That's where the basins are.
That's where Stitson's Pond or Stilson's Pond is, whatever, is that area we're looking at there.
Yeah, I believe that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, what did they do? Did they had to move the railroad also, I imagine, when the new locks came out?
Yes, they did. And it's more now then would be further to the right, going in over toward Cristobal and Cologne.
Wow, that is very interesting.
Further over there.
So now this is that same view. You're basically, if you were in a balloon or a crane right at the end of the locks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
and you're looking at the town of Gatun. Now, obviously, as you can see, that's the older construction Gatun there. Obviously,
Correct.
it's not
Yeah,
the
like
newer
this is.
stuff.
I think this picture was taken in 1928.
Yeah, 24, June 19th, 1924.
Okay.
Yeah.
And but yeah, and then in the center there, that building that how do I explain this?
The one with the rail cars?
Right there. That's the railroad station.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Right on.
Yeah. And then you can look to the left of that. There's a long building, and that's actually where the people would wait for the train. But I'm not exactly sure what that building was used for. Other than that, I know that it was labeled. I had other pictures that labeled it as the train station. So.
Interesting. Okay, and then here's the closer look of it, or the other side of it, I guess.
Well, no, this is before the canal was built.
Oh, okay. So this is the old Gatun town.
The dam was going to be built on Gatun.
Oh, look at that.
Gatun. So this is the village of Gatun. Here, this would have been, when some of the research I did here, and I didn't realize this. I mean, I don't know Spanish at all.
Right.
But it was called El Gatun. Well, El Gatun, if you translate that into English, is the cat.
Okay.
According to what I saw here. So, I've seen a lot of things since I left the zone that keep telling me that somewhere along the way that somebody came up with Cristobal tigers because of some of the history in the area.
Okay. Right on.
Because there's Tiger Hill nearby.
Sure.
And to this day, I've done a lot of searching for this because I'm really interested in it. I would like to know how in the world they came up with tigers for the mascot.
You're going to have to make it a project to do some deep research on that. You got to send a couple of the AI tools there to do some deep research on it. So very interesting, very, very, very interesting there. And Vern, as you can see, Ricky's nickname is on there for you on your label there, Vern Couturier.
El Fulo de Color. You know what, Vern? That comes from the heart, because you're doing such a great job, and I really appreciate it. And you're kind of like the American guy giving us the history of Colón. So
yeah.
Please take it as a love.
Just don't put it on Wikipedia because it may be wrong.
No, listen.
El Fulo in Panama really means the American. That's what El Fulo really means.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really. Yeah. So. But no, and Ricky's absolutely right. You give us a lot of great context to the Atlantic side because we don't know it, man. And so it's nice to have you help us out with that, and then the folks that chime in the chat as well that give us some more clarity on some of that stuff. Because again, I always imagined Gatun was a big area. It turns out no, it was actually a very small little town.
Like I said, I think it started out during the construction, in the French, and then when the Americans. And so forth, and even just during the railroad, I think it was a very large town.
Yes, it was.
Once the canal was completed, it basically just turned into a small little town.
Yeah, it was a great construction town, but once the permanent canal zone was set in place, it definitely was reduced in prominence and everything. But it was some great history there, Akira. I like we said earlier, there is a great Japanese connection, and it's interesting because it seems like a lot of it originated from transitioning or transiting through Panama to get to Washington when relations were established between the United States and Japan. But as we've learned back in the day, there wasn't a quick trip to go through Panama, right? It took some time, and so these folks from this Japanese delegation spent a lot of time there, and it's something that obviously has become historical for them. So, we should chat one day, Akira, and maybe we could collaborate on something here because I think that'd be a cool story for that Japanese perspective on that early, even pre-canal, right? Because that even predates the canal zone. We're talking in the 1860s when these guys were making their way through to go to Washington. So thank you for chiming in with that. We really appreciate you chiming in as well. Yeah, thank you, Paul, for chiming in with your insight and your context, right? Because there's a lot that we don't know, and we count on you guys to help fill in some of those blank spots for us. But anyhow, Vern, again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know Friday nights you do a lot of volunteer work, but we appreciate you setting some time aside to give us some great Atlantic side coverage, and we're looking forward to the next time you do it. But again, appreciate you, Vern. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you on the next go around.
Sounds great.
Thank
guys.
you, Vern. Truly
everybody
appreciate
else,
it.
too. Thank you.
You got it. Take it easy, man. We'll talk to you later.
Yep.
All right, man. Hey, good stuff, man, Ricky. Good Atlantic side coverage. You know, a lot of cool stuff there. And then, you know, that Portobello San Carlos stuff was a lot of fun, right? It was
Portobello and San Lorenzo. Yeah. Hey, listen, everybody. Sorry for the rough start, but we love you because we know you guys forgive us, and we'll be back next week with another great show for you guys. Willie, what do we got?
Yeah, well, next week's our end of the month, a recap. You know, we're gonna get some Canals on Dictionary, and we got this again, that new trivia engine. That's gonna be a lot of fun to use, much easier to use. Trust me, guys, it's real easy. You just have to participate in the chat. You know, like if it's A, B, or C, you put hashtag A, and then you enter. That's your ad. You know, so no need to add anything else there. And as you guys saw earlier, Dave Dahlstrom, our Canal Zone historian, chimed in that April 3rd. He's going to be talking about Henry Morgan and Francis Drake and their Pacific side exploits, because they did a lot there. They forced Panama to move their capital to a new location. So a lot of big history there. We're looking forward to that, you know. And then, like we said earlier, guys, the month of May is Panama Canal Month. Okay, if there's somebody out there, tugboat pilot captain, let us know, and we'd like to bring you on if we can't get Dave Cohen on. But the chief is telling me to wrap it up here, Ricky, so get us out of here, man.
Yep. Good night, guys. Listen again, like every week, and we truly mean it. Thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. See you next week.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.